Hi everyone, I'm continuing my talks on the immigrant experience and also looking at different books that I use to help myself in my personal growth. I hope that they will be helpful to others in leadership positions, particularly those of us who are in business and who have theology backgrounds but cannot get positions in administration in the church. I hope it helps you. So this book that I'm reading is on Pope Francis and the future of faith. I have touched on it before, and the chapter I read today was on different ways of communication. So with technology, a lot of us use the internet. The internet is supposed to be free. It's supposed to be a place to express our ideas, to share the news. In Canada, unfortunately, a lot of our freedoms are being taken away, including sharing the news on Facebook by the government. Things like tweets are being taken down, and it's unfortunate, people who speak up against things that they think are wrong are being removed from leadership positions in our church. But I guess the church is doing whatever they think is right for the future. So on communication, there's different forms of communication. Me personally, I don't see the church being a place of hope anymore. I don't see it as being a place of growth, of change, of all the things that inspired Vatican II, I think are lost in the church, not just because of COVID, but because of the many changes that were brought in that made our church more and more like the Protestant church. And many of us are not Catholic because we want to become Protestant. We're Catholic because we're Catholic. We believe in the real presence in the Eucharist. We believe that in transubstantiation in the body and blood of Jesus. And when we cannot receive the wine at church, we come home and we have a little water afterwards because it's important to us. So with communication, we too have a responsibility to use our gifts to help our church, to form our church, because if we don't, people are just going to make decisions for us, and most likely they're going to benefit the men, not the women, and benefit what they want to bring in. So I touched earlier on the poor church, this notion of the church must be poor and for the poor. Well, how do we come up then? So then corporations are going to be the ones that will drive the finances that go into the church, and they'll drive the projects of what will be accepted and not accepted. And that's wrong. That should not be the case. It should be about us as individuals. They have in Canada, they do this big thing about matching donations. So whatever people give, the corporation or wealthy individuals will match it. And maybe it's a nice concept, but really and truly the rich are just doing it for the tax break. I mean, for me, I don't care. I don't want my donations matched by somebody else. If they want to give, they must do what they want to do on their own and get their tax break, not use me to get a bigger tax break than what they would normally get, because that's what they're doing. You look at it with the speakers, you look at it with what's been done by the Liberals with their speaking talks. That's what they're doing. So anyway, I mean, I don't know why the church doesn't see through it, or maybe they do and it benefits them, so they're not going to bother. But we've had people like Oscar Romero standing up to it. We've had other priests standing up to what the rich do, listening to calls, listening to conversations, opening our mail. All these things don't just happen in South America. They happen here in Canada too. And they happened in Zimbabwe. They happened in the Rhodesian War. So it's very interesting to see how the communication is done in a top-down way. I see now Pope Francis has brought in this synod of listening, where he wants people to express their views and say what is important to them. So for me, obviously it's going to be about the role of women in the church, having paid positions for women in the church, having positions of trust for women in the church, and that it can't just be for the men, because there are women named in the Bible for the important work that they did in the early church. And that's important to me. The other thing is around communication. We shouldn't be shut down if we communicate things that the church does not necessarily agree with, because we as women have our own views. Many of us are educated, many of us understand the scriptures, so we should be able to bring those views forward. And communication, in this book, Pope Francis is talking about how communication is not only technology. Technology is important, but communication also comes when someone says to you, hey, let's go grab a coffee, or let's have a meal together. Obviously, it's about communication, because when you sit down together and you have that coffee or you have that meal, you're going to communicate. You're going to talk to each other. You're not just going to sit there on your phone. You don't invite somebody out and then say, oh yeah, let's go out, I'll take you out, and then sit on your phone the whole time and say, oh, there's your coffee, you can have it. That is very rude. That's been done to me by people, but that is very rude. And that's not the way to treat somebody, whether it's me or somebody else. It's not the right thing to do. If somebody's saying, let's go grab a coffee, or let's have a beer, or let's have a wine together, it's because people want to talk. They want to get to know you most of the time. The other way of communicating is through play. If you watch animals, if you watch any animals, if you watch wolves, if you watch lions, if you watch birds, you see how they play together. And so too with us as human beings, when we play together, whether it's board games, online games, or we get together and we play games together, it's a form of communication. We're having fun together and we're building a bond. So when you have family gatherings, when you go out together, for example, when my nieces came over and my brother, and they enjoyed the day with me, we went swimming together. We were building a bond and we were building a memory. And I may not have as many memories with them, but they love me. And sometimes I think they love me more than they love anybody else, but it's good because we play together, we laugh together, we talk together. So communication also comes through play. Communication comes through touch. When we reach out to somebody, when we shake their hands, when we hug them, when we see a smile of welcome, that's a way of communicating. And it's a way of expressing ourselves too. Another form of communication is silence. So sometimes we can sit with somebody and we can just be in their presence and we're together, and that's enough. In that silence is our friendship and our love for each other. So that's communication too. So communication takes a lot of different forms. Speaking is only one form of communication, and communication comes through interacting with others, being with others. A lot of communication today, for example, with my work, it's over the email, over the phone, over the chat, and I have to be succinct, but also personable and professional. And so that takes a skill. It takes a lot of work to learn how to have those types of conversations. When you're not meeting face to face, it can be harder, it can be more challenging, because when you see someone, when you're talking to them, you can see facial expressions, you can see different things that you can pick up. But when you're just speaking to somebody over the phone or the chat or the email, you can't tell. And if you don't know that person or you haven't seen that person for a long time, you can't tell, really. And there are some people who are trained, like I've been trained and coached in how to communicate with certain people. So I take those skills and I use them in my work. And it's important to remember that when you see people on television, when you see people giving interviews, the same way when I saw that guy who killed Whitney Houston and her daughter, he obviously had been coached, and he obviously had been told to think that maybe, oh, that family's got a lot of problems. But if you look at Whitney Houston's family, they were well-to-do, they were successful, they were well-known names in the music industry. And so for him to say that, oh, they're delusional, really? That's why Dr. Phil kept asking him and saying, really? You know, two, mother and daughter, and you were there? And he just kept saying he didn't kill them. So it's interesting. The same thing with me. I've held successful professional contracts in banks, in healthcare. I volunteered with them. I volunteered with United Way at my church. I've interacted not only with people who are coming off the street and I'm serving them their meals and helping them and being a voice of compassion face to face, but also with dignitaries, with people like Cardinal Turkson, with people visiting Regis College. So I know my worth and I know who I am. And for people to tell me that I'm delusional and that I have mental health problems, it's so far-fetched, you can't even begin to fathom it if you know me. But you need to think about these things when you're assessing society and what is going on and what people are doing to you and for you. You need to assess that. So in my talks, I'm obviously asking for help financially because things are tough, because I could not get a permanent job with my contracts that were paying $35 an hour, $40 an hour. And I was very heartbroken when I left HSBC because I really liked it. I liked my team. They liked me. I liked the work that I was doing, but people were causing too many problems for me. And so instead of us being able to do our work and focus on our work, there were calls coming in on a daily basis that were upsetting me, that were upsetting my team, that were upsetting the executive. And in the end, you know, after several calls to the police and the police not responding in a timely way, they let me go. And it's really sad because it took me a long, long time to get this job that I have now, and I can't make ends meet on it. It's not to say that I'm not worth more. Of course I am, but I just don't get the breaks. And I've been applying and applying and applying for other executive assistant works, for coordinator jobs, for other things in finance, in the banks, in healthcare. I've been applying and I'm not getting anything. And I don't want to be sitting at home for the rest of my life. It's isolating. I mean, yes, it's nice with our job because we in the call center, most of us don't like it because of the security. We have to lock everything away. We like this job because we're at home and we in the comfort of our homes. But for me, it's not something I want forever. I want to be in the corporate world. I want to be interacting with people. I want to be traveling. I want to be earning a good salary. And so I'm applying. And I have had good support in my friends who have said to me, Belinda, you can't let these people control your life. You have to take control. And it was hard. It was very hard for me because I went through so many years of job losses, of being put down. And the communication coming to me was always that I was the problem when I wasn't. And so it was through my friends, it was through my network. Mainly my friends. I have very, very good friends who kept in touch with me, who encouraged me, who helped me with money, who sent me flowers. All those things were positive things for me, and they helped me to get my self-confidence back. One time somebody sent a Gucci bag here, and nobody knows who did it. When I called the Bay, they said, we don't know, we can't find anything in our system. So maybe somebody was trying to set me up to put me in jail? I really don't know. But I sent it back to them. And I told them, look, it's not mine. I'm being honest. I don't want it. So you have to look at what's going on around you. But slowly I took control back of my life. I did my John Maxwell. I paid $100 a month. One of my friends who I went to high school with, her name is Jo. She passed away now. She also went through a lot. She said to me, take this John Maxwell. Maybe it will help you. But she said the Americans are not like us. So that's how I took the John Maxwell. I paid $100 a month until I finished and I got my speaking credentials. And then I also did my aromatherapy massage. And I had to wait until COVID was over before I could complete that because I had to do the compress. So finally, I finished everything, but it takes perseverance. It takes communication. It takes two-way communication. It can't be one person doing all the giving and the other person doing all the receiving. So it's been very hard for me, and I do worry about the future. I do pray and I ask God, please help me. I know you don't take it with you when you go, but when you're worried about landing up living on welfare and nobody cares, and they're saying you can go and live on welfare for all we care, and you haven't done anything to them, it's very concerning. So I just carry on and I send my applications out. They know at work. The operations managers know. The executive know. I'm trying to get something else. And if I have to leave Teleperformance, they will wish me well because they know I'm a good employee. I'm honest. I don't lie. When I'm sick, they know I'm sick because I will get a doctor's note. When I go for my COVID appointments, I have proof and I can send it to them. Or I tell them when I'm going out to get medication. But this is not the life I envisioned for myself. I wanted a different life. I wanted to be able to go out, to eat out sometimes, to travel, to do all the things that I love to do. I enjoy nature. Yes, I can go and sit in the park and read, but nobody wants to continuously be on their own and be by themselves and be left out all the time. So money is a big part of it. Whether we like it or not, our earning power and what we earn makes a difference in what we get to experience and what we get to do. The same thing when my brother used to come. I was never included to all the events they went to, when they went to the Elvis shows, when they went to the game parks, or when they went to these places that they have. I was always left out, and I always expressed an interest in coming, but I was told no. And even when they came downtown, I would say, you know what, I can meet you, because I was working downtown at the time. And they'd say, oh no, we are doing our own thing. The same thing with my mother. So eventually I just said, you know what, forget it. They're not interested. So I'm just going to focus on the church and focus on my volunteering, because at least I know there I'm welcomed and I know there I can join in. And we have a nice time at church. We have lovely events. I enjoy the Christmas service. I can come home, have a nice meal, no traveling, no going out in the snow and in the cold, and let other people get on with their lives. Live and let live. That's my philosophy now. So communication is important. And I think we also have to think about how we communicate verbally and non-verbally, through touch, through play, through sight. People focus on the sight and they focus on seeing and doing, but there are other forms of communication with the five senses. Hearing is equally important. Tasting is equally important. So communication is a lot of different things. And I like reading this book. It was nice. I don't agree with everything that our Pope is doing, but at least I know I'm free to express it. Anyway, that's communication today, what I did. And you can easily take these skills that Pope Francis is talking about and use them in business. You can set up meetings with people for a coffee. You can think about how you're communicating when you touch someone and whether that touch is appropriate or not. You can think about a smile when you're in business. You can think about keeping distance with women when you're interacting with them, or men. Not all of us are comfortable having people within our personal space. There's a lot of things that I've talked about that you can think about how you can use them in your business, in your everyday life, and how you can apply them. It's not necessarily that you only have to use them in the church, because that's what I have to do now, because I had a yearning and a desire to get that job in a church and to work with a good priest like Father Larry and to give retreats and to travel. But it has not opened up for me. So I have to take whatever I have and use it wherever I am. Because obviously God doesn't want me in the church, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I would have gotten hurt if I was in the church, because I don't like all these things, all the financial things and how they do things with companies and all that. I think it's very wrong. In Zimbabwe, we don't do that. If the companies want to give money, they give it on their own. We don't say, oh, you give this and then they'll double it and then they get all the tax break on top of that. No. But anyway, let's see how all of this is going to end. And I'm praying for my friends and those who have helped me. And I ask you to please pray for me, especially for my finances, because it is a worry. It is a very big worry. I thought that when I sold my place and then I got this job, I thought things would open up after a year or two, but still nothing. And I'm tired of family targeting me because I like sports celebrities posts, or I follow them or whatever. I do it out of my love for them. And now, to be honest with you, I don't do it that often anymore because I know everybody's watching to see what I'm doing. So I just don't bother. Now and again, I'll like their posts or I'll comment, but not too frequently. People should learn on their own and do on their own, not focus on me. What you should be doing is taking what I'm teaching you and applying it in your own lives, not focusing on me and focusing on what I am doing to try to better my life. You focus on your life and better your own life.